And yesterday, my focus was a lot on that, on other people. But I'm glad that I'm watching this again because I think I'm allowing it the second time around to sink in on myself a little more. And I can so relate to that battle with faith and with feeling so lost.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Ultimate YouTube channel. It's your girl, Rosalie.
This is so freaking powerful.
Guess what time it is?
Let's keep this short and simple, but I had to come on here. Hey everybody, it's me. Before I go to my jiu-jitsu training, I wanted to hop back in studio just to process with you, as promised, and to talk a little bit more about NF's latest release. I had the honor of doing a collab reaction with Clint Davis from ClintDavisCounseling.com. Go check out his podcast, Asking Why. Go check out our reaction to Fear and the full review that I'm sharing today. But also, I'm doing this standalone of Washed Up specifically for a couple of reasons. First of all, our full breakdown, our conversation about Washed Up is on the full review, in the full review video. But there were some technical issues where you didn't get to see our facial reaction, our emotional reaction as we were listening. So I want to review this one together with you also because it was so profound. And I realized last night that there's so much more we could talk about. And I think that I'm going to pick up on more as I watch this again. I feel like with NF's music, it has a strong initial emotional impact. And I know a lot of you guys like to see that first time reaction. But I feel like because of the depths of it, because of how real it is, sometimes things don't really sink in until you've watched it a second, a third, a fourth time. And sometimes even years later, it'll affect you differently because we're people, we're beings, a present progressive verb, constantly evolving, changing, being something different. And that affects how we listen to things, how we perceive things. So I want to experience this song with you one more time and talk about it some more. What has this song done for you so far? NF's breaking the internet with this new EP. The haters are already coming out of the woodworks, as usual. I wonder if that's going to be the reason he's asking for in this EP. Clint Davis pointed out well that he really seems to have been working on his voice and showcases a different level of ability here and skill, from the softness to the grit to the raspiness. And I love that when artists are courageous enough to say, yes, I'm a hip hop and rap artist, and yes, I can rap. And he shows us his bars and his cadence flows yet again in this EP. But he's also showing us his singing voice. And he's always done that. That's not new. But I appreciate when an artist doesn't just do something because, well, that's what the fans are expecting. Don't sing too much. Don't rap too much. Just do what you want to do. Be your creative self. Because here's the thing. If we just put him on a pedestal where he has to meet some type of box we have put him in, we are, first of all, not growing and healing ourselves because we are looking for external sources to be our healing. And F has to meet some type of criteria for us to feel helped. Maybe that would imply that we've idolized him on our journey of growth and healing, right? Where we've taken some of these songs he's given us, and now we say, well, now this is what I'm expecting from phase 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Instead of looking inward and saying, what was this supposed to be for me? And taking everything subjectively, because that is what art is. And also allowing him to do what he wants subjectively. But I think our tendency is to over-identify with our diagnoses, with our life's experiences. We over-identify with the music and artists we love. And then it shakes our identity when they pivot and they do something different. Because it makes us feel safer when people are predictable. So let's listen to Fear, and then we're going to listen to Washed Up together.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I love that nod to Simon and Garfunkel's Hello, Darkness, my old friend.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. Hello. Knocking at my door again, begging me to come outside, let you back into my life. Now, usually I'd be strong enough to lock the doors and keep them shut.
Usually I'd be strong enough. He's established coping skills. He's learned to deal with this stuff through therapy, through the years, through a community. Usually I'd be strong enough. Hello, darkness, and that whisper, hello. Right? It's not aggressive yet. It's not loud. It's not overpowering yet. But usually he's strong enough. Something has happened that makes it harder now. And that is very relatable in life.
But not today, I'm desperate. So go ahead and come on in.
See, he locked those doors, but the doors are opening. It's pouring outside. chaos in the mansion, right? It's been abandoned. It's not taken care of because he had left that behind, as he says later on, right? That was the past for him, but the mansion was still there. The parts of our mind that have been hurt, where there's trauma, where there's pain, they're still existent. When we go through therapy and we heal and we grow, they don't just go away. And when we don't tend to these parts of ourselves, when we don't accept, clean up, they're going to keep resurfacing.
So go ahead and come on in.
By the way, I listened to this fully without any interruptions in my review with Clint Davis. So if you want to see my first time ever reaction, make sure to go check that one out.
So go ahead and come on in.
I love that switch here.
OCD is worse than ever, hands are bleeding. Maybe I should take the pills, don't know what's going on with me. Some days I actually think I might be schizo. Frantic, probably not, but even writing this is making
Frantic, probably not. Wow. I love the play on syllables and the cadence flow here. I think I'm schizophrenic. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Probably not, right? This back and forth between, am I this? Probably not. Should I take the pills? Don't, right? A battle, which is so fitting to those who struggle with OCD, those who may be schizophrenic, those who have a mental illness. It's a constant battle back and forth.
Me begin to spiral, oh God. Made a promise to myself I wouldn't let the fear back in, but then I did though. Told the world that I was sick of running, then went back to running. What a joke. Disappointed, yeah, me too. I thought I finally made a breakthrough. Guess not.
See, he's already bracing himself for what the response is going to be. Disappointed? Yeah, me too. Which also showcases just that pressure of when you're trying to live up to your own expectations and the expectations of the world around you. That black tar pouring out is poignant because of what's going to happen later in this music video. The mirror cracking, his own reflection.
It's the same song and dance, you all seen it before. Darkness holds out its hand, then we walk to the floor. Every decision made, is it mine anymore? Like a puppet with strings, I just don't have a choice. What's the truth, what's a lie? Help me God, help me Lord. Face your fears, dry your eyes. Grandma died, what's the point? Lost the keys, lost my hope, lost my will, lost my joy, lost a friend, lost my hope, lost my faith, lost my voice.
There we go. That's all that trauma. Lost grandma, lost a friend, lost my hope, lost my joy. Those things will trigger you hardcore. You lose another close family member, and yes, that doesn't mean all the work from how could you leave us to mama has been undone, but it brings back so much pain. That deep-rooted pain that was still there, even in his healing through Hope and through Mama and all those songs of his latest album. That healing is real. But the underlying pain, the underlying fear of abandonment, the underlying question of how could you leave us? Where are you, God? Help me, God. That's still there. That doesn't go away when you heal. And that's okay, friends. That's okay that the questions are still there. Sometimes more, sometimes less. But if anything, this will trigger that.
Lost my joy.
Lost the keys.
Lost a friend, lost my hope, lost my faith, lost my voice.
Nods to OCD. Trying to clean yourself. And this is powerful because to me, this is definitely a nod to OCD. Him all alone in the darkness of his mind, right? That's all you can see. There's nothing else going on around him. It's black, full blackness. And I think that's important to understand. People with OCD, people who are so caught in their minds, OCD being an example of a mental disorder. There are several where people are so in their head, they can't get out, that's all they can see. And on the outside looking in, you might want to say, it's okay, stop, your hands are clean, or move away, look around you, right? Ground yourself, find something to touch, smell, hear, and see. But this is reality in people's heads, and that's all they can see. And I think this is such a powerful depiction and hopefully can also create awareness in us and empathy to say, wow, man, that must be so painful. Imagine approaching someone with that type of understanding of saying, man, I've seen NF's video and this was depicted and I can only imagine, but it really helped me understand a little bit better how lonely that must be, how dark, how suffocating when all you can see is that, when that's all you can focus on, you see nothing else. This goes for depression and anxiety as well. It's also really hard for people who can only see what's right in front of them. Everything else has gone to black. Also makes me think of trying to get rid of, any dirt, any shame, any hurt, desperately trying to clean yourself. that twitch, that glitch. Fitting to what happens later in the EP, by the way. That glitch, record glitching happens in his track with MGK. So a beautiful red thread here, composition-wise. Something's trying to break in.
Standing back, watching my mansion burn to ash while
I'm watching it burn.
Hold the gas can, asking God if he started this fire.
This is powerful. This is powerful. I'm watching my mansion burn as I'm holding the gas can. So I'm observing something from the outside. I'm seeing something being destroyed. That is a huge part of me. But I'm the one holding the gas can. This nuance between observing something externally, but also being the one who's possibly set it on fire. And that's beautiful to what happens in Washed Up, because that's where that duality is created of who is it truly that is burning down the mansion. Him holding that bag that goes over his head, tears-stricken eyes, tired from crying, in a field of dry grass. It doesn't look full of life and hope and fruit. It looks dry. It looks worn out. It looks trampled down. Very poignant elements all around.
Is this what you wanted? Is this what you wanted? Make all my hopes and my dreams come to life just to lay them to rest.
Honest questions.
Is this what you wanted? Is this what you wanted?
I love his voice here.
Give me a false sense of peace just to show me what peace really is.
There's two things here. And again, guys, I did listen to this without interruptions with my review with Clint Davis. So don't be mad if you don't want me to be pausing. But this video is intentionally for a deeper dive and trying to really let this sink in on me. The honesty here, guys, of saying, you gave me all this, only lay it to rest. And he doesn't say you ripped it all away, but to lay it to rest. On one hand, that sounds peaceful, laying something to rest. At the same time, it sounds like it's being taken away from you, but also fitting to the death of his grandmother and friend because they were laid to rest, right? This saying, rest in peace. Good play on that phrase, rest in peace, because here he speaks of rest. In the next verse, he speaks of peace. A conversation about death, which also happens more in his track Home. But then to say, is this what you wanted? And he says it calmly, still pleading, still looking for questions, not yelling yet, not screaming and banging on heaven's gates, but then saying, taking that peace. How does he say it?
It's what you want, yeah.
That makes me think of Thunderbolts.
Give me a false sense of peace just to show me what peace really is.
Give me a false sense of peace. So implying perhaps what he thought was peace was a false sense of peace, just to show me what peace really is. A double entendre here. Is this sarcasm saying, oh, so you can show me what peace really is? As if like saying, oh, this is, I guess, your version of peace, but it's not peaceful at all. I'm grieving. My grandma died. My friend died. I'm struggling with my OCD. The darkness is creeping back in. Or is the double entendre, the second option here, saying I had this false sense of peace and you gave me that false sense of peace so I can see what the good stuff is, what peace really is. This is so profound because you can take this different ways. A sarcastic question. Oh, is that why, you gave me that false sense so that I can find out what true peace is? Like I said in my convo with Clint Davis, that's often things we hear, especially in a spiritual Christian religious sense. This idea of, no, this is a test. God just gave you this as a test. The good stuff is really coming. He's taken the good to give you something better, right? You hear these phrases, and when someone's hurting, that doesn't mean anything. It sounds nice, and for some that might mean comfort, but when you're really hurting, that sounds like BS because a child doesn't understand that. I take from my child something they love, and I now say, I have something better though. Once I give them the better, they might be happy, or they might still be really hurt because they really love that first thing. And I think I need a space where those questions can be asked. If we are supposed to be children of a loving father figure being mentioned and Washed Up, then I think those questions are valid. What is this? You took something I love so that you can give me something better? Why are you the one to decide what's better? And then those who may not be willing to dwell on that question long enough might respond, I've been that person too, might respond and say, well, God knows what's better because he's God and all those things. But there's still that hurt. There's still those questions. It doesn't make sense sometimes. And there needs to be space for that, to sit in that anguish and say, WTF. For freak, because NF doesn't cuss. But then, like I said, a double entendre, maybe really saying, you gave me a false sense of peace so that I can really taste the real deal. Because you know how they say, we see light because we know darkness, or vice versa. We know good because we know evil, etc. This yin and yang, both and. That could be a conversation too about this, right? But why would God give us a false sense of peace? And this is very philosophical. He's asking deeply philosophical questions. Did God give us a false sense of peace and the fraud version of things so we can understand the original? Kind of like that phrase, you need to study a real dollar bill so you can recognize the fake one. But then those that want to ask why would God give me a fraud to begin with, a false sense of peace? And then those who may respond and say, well, we only know real peace when we understand what the alternative looks like. So many profound philosophical questions. He's honest.
Is this what you want now? On the verge, on the edge. Is this what you want now? Petrified, scared to death. Is this what you want now? Praying to God, desperate. Is this what you want now? What you want now? Is this what you want now? Hanging on by a thread. Is this what you want now? Empty heart, nothing left. Is this what you want now? Breaking down, spiraling. Is this what you want now? What you want now? Is this what you want now? Need that? Is this what you want now? My bed. Is this what you want now? To rest. Is this what you want now? What you want now? Is this what you want now? The gas. Is this what you want now? Is this what you feel? Started. Is this what you want now? What you want now?
You know, yesterday it made me emotional. And maybe I was detaching a little bit for the sake of, being able to really psychoanalyze this and not get too personally invested. But my mind went to people I know and care for and love who struggle with OCD. And yesterday my focus was a lot on that, on other people. But I'm glad that I'm watching this again because I think I'm allowing it the second time around to sink in on myself a little more. And I can so relate to that battle with faith and with feeling so lost. And with just saying, God, is this what you wanted? You go through life and you have this idea of what you think life is or God is and your faith is. And you have ups and downs and trauma, but things get better. Things start healing. That happened in my life too. And then as I got older, due to decisions I made and things that other people did, you just had that compound trauma and different things happened that would trigger new trauma, right? I thought I had healed pretty well from childhood and teenage trauma. And then I'm a young adult and I experienced the loss of my first child halfway through the pregnancy. And I went through a very dark place in my life. Or then, you go through different highly stressful, intense, traumatic events, loss of loved ones, separation, loss of job, being in a different country, different things. Everyone's story is different. I'm not saying this to compare or pity myself. I'm just giving examples. You have your own examples. Think of what comes to your mind of the pain you've endured. And then we go through life and new things happen that might add to that trauma. And then even if you've healed to a degree, sometimes I think the hard part is that there's still so much underlying pain. And it surprises us when that comes back up on the new wave of hurt. And you realize, or you wonder, have I healed at all? And you realize there's still a lot of pain there. But I see this, and even in the years past, I can so relate to that feeling of stumbling around with a bag over your head in the darkness, like you're on flames, like everything you knew and believed and loved, even when it comes to faith, has changed, and you can't or don't believe anymore what you believed before. And you don't have good arguments to argue your way back into a certain faith again. You feel alone, and you feel like God's not answering those questions. And you feel so lost because your whole sense of self is built around these things. Our sense of self is often built around our religion, our faith, what we believe or don't believe, around the people we love, right? His loss of his grandma. These things shape us. And watching it a second time around, I'm allowing it to sink in a little deeper and allow it to go a little more personal. But I think it's just so powerful, so interesting. That honest conversation with God of saying, I feel so lost. My OCD is wild. I wonder if I'm schizophrenic. Probably not, but still, I'm all over the place. I'm in the darkness of my mind. I'm obsessing. All that I can see and do is washing my hands. I'm trying to rid myself of this shame, of this hurt, of this anger. Who am I? What am I doing? God, where are you? What is this? Did you give me a fake sense of a fleeting sense of peace, only to give me the real deal? What is the real deal? So many philosophical, theological, and psychological questions here. To then see the NF we know in his black attire taking the keys, fear taking the keys, taking over. But does that mean that hope is lost? I don't think so. I think that this is a powerful depiction of OCD, of depression, anxiety, of mental health, distress. I think this is a perfect conversation about you being a human and relapsing and trauma compounding, of wrestling with God and with ourselves and with the world. And also, I think that this is a powerful example that it really is yin and yang, that there will be times when hope is strong and powerful, and when Nate in his white attire is asking his questions on his float in the middle of nowhere, is searching for the map of hope, is finding healing, and speaking to his mama in a very different way than in How Could You Leave Us, is still struggling with happiness, but is healing somehow, is working through it, is finding life. And also that it is still the same NF who is dressed in all black, who is taking the keys, and who has found his way to creep back into life. It is both, and I think that's the hardest part of life, accepting that it's never going to be just one or the other, and that death is very much part of life. It's not the end. It's not the polar opposite. It's all maybe part of one whole thing. And that goes for white and black. That goes for death and life. That goes for fear and for hope. That goes for any of it. And maybe there's two ways to look at that. Maybe we can reframe and we can say fear has taken over, hope is lost. Or we can say, hey, now hope has a chance to come back. It's so dark. All that's left now is for light to break through. Because anything that appears on this black screen now is going to be not black. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to see it. Anything that we can see is hope, is light, is something other than black. So there's different ways we can reframe our reality. Just as much as with Washed Up, and we're going to listen to that one in just a second together. Just as much as with Washed Up, we can take it both ways. Is it fear destroying it? Is it NF owning who he is? Let's listen to Washed Up together. Go click on that one now.